I don't think you have to be a religious person to have good values. Hi.
Good evening, Senator Warren.
Good evening.
My name is Tim.
Hi, Tim.
I'm going to ask my question in all due respect, total respect and honor, but I want to read
Okay,
my
why
question.
does this make me feel uneasy?
Because I'm probably the most unpopular person in this room.
Okay, Tim.
So, as an evangelical Christian, I am continually bombarded by Democratic candidates who demonize my beliefs, calling them bigoted and intolerant. I love this country, and I love my fellow citizens, and I don't feel the respect and honor for my values and what I believe in. My question for you is, why should I give up things that I hold dear, that I teach my children about, that I share common beliefs with my fellow Christians, things like ending abortion, traditional marriage, and religious freedoms? Why should I give up those things that I love so much and believe so deeply in to vote for an individual like yourself?
So, I'm glad you asked the question. I was born and raised Methodist. I've been a Sunday school teacher. And most of the scripture I quote is still King James. I'm old school on this. But I don't think you have to be a religious person to have good values. So the way I see this is I'm going to start where you started, and that is I believe everyone should be treated with respect. As I said, for me it is a basic value. Every human being has value, and that means every human being should be treated with respect. And that's true whether we're talking about black or white, straight or gay or trans, whether we're talking about old or young. I think this is really an important part of who we are. And if I can, let me just pick up one, although you mentioned several, but I think maybe it may be the one, since you mentioned it first, is the question about abortion. I understand that you and I may have differences. There may be a lot of different views in this room. But here's what I'm certain about, and that is a woman who's in the position of trying to decide what she's going to do about a pregnancy that she may not have planned for, may not have hoped for, may have been forced upon her, is a woman who should be able to call on anyone for help. She should be able to call on her partner. She should be able to call on her mom. She should be able to call on her priest or her rabbi or her pastor. But the one entity that should not be in the center of that very hard decision is the federal government. That's how I see it. So I'll be respectful of you, and I believe you when you say you're respectful of me. We may have a difference about the view about the federal government on this issue, but boy, I sure would like to think about the parts we come together on the importance of investing in every single baby in this country. That's what we can do. We've got a chance to do this, and I hope we're able to do it. Thank you, Tim. Thank you. Thank you.
Let's say you're on the campaign trail and you're approached. You have been, yes. And a supporter approaches you and says, "Senator, I'm old-fashioned, and my faith teaches me that marriage is between one man and one woman." What is your response?
Well, I'm going to assume it's a guy who said that. And I'm going to say, then just marry one woman. I'm cool with that. Assuming you can find one.
This is written by Elizabeth Warren. She's a Harvard law professor, good friend of mine. You've seen her on the show before.
When I was invited to be on Dr. Phil, I thought, you know, we'll sit down and we'll do this interview and we'll talk about all of the data that I had been researching about what happens to families in trouble. But instead, it didn't work that way at all. Dr. Phil had a family. They told their story. And then Dr. Phil turned to me and said, do you think they ought to put a second mortgage on their house? And just like that, I had a chance to say, not just to that young couple, but to millions of people in America, no!
Why is it so dangerous for couples to take these second mortgages, these home improvement, home equity loans? Why is that such? You say that is financial poison.
It is. And if you listen to the ads, it always sounds so smart. Tap your home equity, right? Doesn't that sound clever? Let me tell you the other way we might describe it. Borrow money, take my house if I don't pay.
Never put a second mortgage on your house to pay off your credit card bills, because then you're really taking the risk that you won't be able to pay. And not only will you be in financial trouble, you'll lose your house as well.
You can lose the entire house.
That's right. They don't just sell off a bedroom.
Yeah, they don't just, really.
And when the lights went down, I thought, wow, maybe a few people heard that around the country and backed off from making a decision that really could have cost them a lot. And from that moment forward, I was hooked. I spent a big chunk of my grown-up life studying why people go broke. A lot of it has to do with things they couldn't do much about. They got sick, somebody in the family got sick, they lost a job, there was a divorce or a death. But there are things people can do to make their lives more secure. I think of money as in three big buckets. One bucket are the necessities, the things you got to spend money on all the time, like your rent, right? You got to spend money on that. Another one is the things that you need to be saving, and that's a key one. This is how you build a future. Now, sometimes building a future means paying down debt, like student loans. Sometimes it means if you've got your debt paid down or your credit cards paid down, putting money into savings for the future. Because you got to be secure not just today, but tomorrow and the next day and the next day. And then all that money that's left over, that's the money. You make the decisions and you have fun with it. You decide you want to spend more on food, good for you. You want to spend more on lattes, then cut back on shoes. Those are the decisions you get to make, but you know how much you've got and how much you're working with. But there are also things we can do as a country, as a people, decisions we can make to make it easier for people to build economic futures. So for example, if we passed a wealth tax and took some of that money, that's a 2% tax on the top 1/10 of 1%, and took some of that money, we could cancel student loan debt for about 95% of people in this country who have student loans. That would make a huge difference in people's finances. We could also pay for universal child care. That would help families that are trying to raise children. It would help people be able to go back to school, to be able to take a job, to be able to take a more demanding job. And it would make sure that our babies are getting the best possible care. Do we want to be a country that just says, hey, it's more important that the billionaires keep their 2 cents on their great fortunes? Or are we a country that says, you made it big, good for you, but once you reach more than $50 million in assets, pitch in 2 cents on those next dollars so that everybody gets a chance to make it in this country? You know, it's the same kind of fight. It's the fight you fight personally to take care of yourself, but it's also the fight we fight together to be a country where everybody gets a chance to build a future.
Elizabeth Warren's new book, which I have read cover to cover, All You're Worth, The Ultimate Lifetime Money Plan, is in bookstores now. And everybody in the audience today gets a copy to take home, okay?
Are you suggesting that President Trump pulled the trigger and had Qasem Soleimani killed as a distraction from impeachment?
I think people are reasonably asking about the timing. next week, Donald Trump faces the start, potentially, of an impeachment trial. And why now? I think people are starting to ask, why now did he do this? Why not delay? And why this one is so dangerous is that he is truly taking us right to the edge of war. And that is something that puts us at risk. It puts the Middle East at risk. It puts the entire world at risk.
Look, you brought up the impeachment trial. You're right. I mean, there's 2 weeks ago, if you'd asked me what would this show have been about, I would have assumed we would be previewing the start of this trial that might have been starting tomorrow or Tuesday. It is not now.
I think the question that we ought to focus on is why now? You know, why not a month ago? Why not a month from now? And the answer from the administration seems to be they can't keep their story straight on this. They pointed in all different directions. And you know, the last time we watched them do this was this summer over Ukraine. As soon as people started asking about the conversation between Donald Trump and the president of Ukraine and why aid had been held up to Ukraine, the administration did the same thing. They pointed in all directions about what was going on. And of course, what emerged then is this was Donald Trump just trying to advance Donald Trump's own political agenda, not the agenda of the United States of America. So what happens right now? Next week, the President of the United States could be facing an impeachment trial in the Senate. We know he's deeply upset about that. And I think people are reasonably asking, why this moment? Why does he pick now to take this highly inflammatory, highly dangerous action that moves us closer to war? We've been at war for 20 years in the Middle East. We need to stop the war in the Middle East, not expand it. In the first 48 hours after this attack, what did we hear? Well, we heard it was for an imminent attack. Then we heard, no, it was to prevent any kind of future attack. Then we heard from the vice president himself, no, it was related to 9/11. And then we heard from press reports of people in the intelligence community saying that the threat was overblown. You know, when the administration doesn't seem to have a coherent answer for taking a step like that, this is not a moment when a president should be escalating tensions and moving us to war. Mr. Chief Justice.
Senator from Massachusetts.
Mr. Chief Justice, I send a question to the desk.
Thank you. The question from Senator Warren is for the House managers. At a time when large majorities of Americans have lost faith in government, does the fact that the Chief Justice is presiding over an impeachment trial in which Republican senators have thus far refused to allow witnesses or evidence contribute to the loss of legitimacy of the Chief Justice, the Supreme Court, and the Constitution?
Yes, we are a more than fallible democracy, and we don't always live up to our ideals. But when we have a president who demonstrates corruption of his office, who sacrifices the national interest for his personal interest, unlike other countries, there's a remedy. And so, yes, we don't always live up to our ideals, but this trial is part of our constitutional heritage, that we were given a power to impeach the president. I don't think a trial without witnesses reflects adversely on the Chief Justice. I do think it reflects adversely on us. I think it diminishes the power of this example to the rest of the world. If we cannot have a fair trial in the face of this kind of presidential misconduct. This is the remedy. This is the remedy for presidential abuse. But it does not reflect well on any of us if we are afraid of what the evidence holds. If this will be the first trial in America where the defendant says at the beginning of the trial, if the prosecution case is so good, why don't they prove it without any witnesses? That's not a model we can hold up with pride to the rest of the world. And yes, Senator, I think that will feed cynicism about this institution, that we may disagree on the president's conduct or not, but we can't even get a fair trial. We can't even get a fair shake for the American people. We can't, oh my God, we can't hear what John Bolton has to say. God forbid we should hear what a relevant witness has to say. Hear no evil. That cannot reflect well on any of us. It's certainly no cause for celebration or vindication or anything like it. Now, my colleague says that I'm a Puritan who speaks in dulcet tones. I think that's the nicest thing he's ever said about me. I wouldn't describe myself as a Puritan, but yes, I do believe in right and wrong. And I think right matters. I think a fair trial matters. And I think that the country deserves a fair trial. And yes, Senator, if they don't get that fair trial, it will just further a cynicism that is corrosive to this institution and to our democracy.
I was wondering if there was ever a time in your life where somebody you really looked up to maybe didn't accept you as much, and how you dealt with that.
Yeah. My mother and I had very different views of how to build a future. She wanted me to marry well. And I really tried. And it just didn't work out. And there came a day when I had to call her and say, this is over. I can't make it work. And I heard the disappointment in her voice. I knew how she felt about it. But I also knew it was the right thing to do. And sometimes you just got to do what's right inside and hope that maybe the rest of the world will come around to it. And maybe they will, and maybe they won't. But the truth is, you got to take care of yourself first and do this. Give me a hug. Okay, who we got next?
What would you say to your critics who say, oh, she's of a certain age, or any of those things? Because I'm sure there's those morons out there who are thinking that.
So is this a certain age question or a certain gender question?
Oh, yes. Yes, ma'am, for sure.
I want to tell you about the decision I made to run for office. Not for president, but the one I made, it actually isn't that very long ago, back for the 2012 Senate race in Massachusetts. So here's how the world looks. I've been in Washington setting up the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. You know why some Republicans hate that agency so much? It's not only the money it costs the big banks, it's the fact that it proves we can make government work for the people. Yep. So, setting up the consumer agency, you remember pre-approved credit cards? I was a pre-rejected nominee. That is, the Republicans told President Obama, we will never confirm that woman to be the head of the agency. So be it. So I head back. I would have stayed. I really would have. But that's the deal. I'm a big girl, so I head back to Massachusetts. And I'm going back to teaching. I love teaching. And people start calling me. there is a very popular Republican incumbent in the Senate who's coming up for re-election. Now, Massachusetts loves its moderate Republicans. This guy has a 65% approval rating. He has $10 million in the bank, which sounded like a lot of money at that time. And he had a pickup. And so people would call me, and they would say to me, Elizabeth, you should run against him. You should get out. You should definitely run for this office. You're not going to win, but you should run. Now, I have to say, my first response is, Democrats, get a better sales pitch. Damn. And why was I not going to win? Well, because that guy a few years earlier had just beaten a, dare I say it, woman. Oh dear. And as people said to me, friends said to me, you know, Massachusetts is just not going to elect a woman senator or governor. Not now. Maybe next generation, but not your generation. That's just not going to happen. So, you know how I heard that. Get in the race. Right? Do this. But here's what I decided. I decided I would be in this fight, and there would be two things I would do every single day. The first one is I would make every day count to get out and talk about what's broken and how we fix it. To get out and talk about childcare, to talk about student loans, to talk about the housing crisis in this country, that people just can't afford decent housing, to talk about a broken criminal justice system. Every single day I would find a group of people somewhere, somehow, and I would move the needle a little by dint of just sheer determination. The second thing I said I would do, I said this to myself, I'm gonna see a little girl every day, at least one, and when I do, I'm gonna get down on my knees and I'm gonna say, hello, my name is Elizabeth, and I'm running for Senate because that's what girls do. And then we would do pinky promises to remember. And we took lots of pictures and lots of pinky promises. So here's the deal. I started out against that guy who simply could not be beaten. I started out down 17 points. I beat him by 7.5. And that's how I see this. You know, you're right. Maybe it takes a woman of a certain age to say, I know how to fight, I know how to win, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. I will not be running for president in 2020, but I guarantee I will stay in the fight. So I announced this morning that I am suspending my campaign for president. I say this with a deep sense of gratitude for every single person who got in this fight, every single person who tried on a new idea, every single person who just moved a little in their notion of what a president of the United States should look like. One of the hardest parts of this is all those pinky promises. I'm running for president because that's what girls do. And all those little girls who are going to have to wait 4 more years. That's going to be hard.
Could you talk a little bit about the role that you think that gender plays in this campaign?
Yeah. Gender in this race, you know, that is the trap question for every woman. If you say, yeah, there was sexism in this race, everyone says, whiner. And if you say, no, there was no sexism, about a bazillion women think, what planet do you live on? This has been the honor of a lifetime. 10 years ago, I was teaching a few blocks from here and talking about what was broken in America and ideas for how to fix it. And pretty much nobody wanted to hear it. And I've had a chance to get out there and talk with millions of people. And, you know, we have ideas now that we talk about that we just weren't talking about even a year ago. A 2-cent wealth tax and universal child care that could be real. We could make it happen. And canceling student loan debt for 43 million Americans and raising Social Security payments. Those are life-changing events for people. And we can actually do this. It's about all the people who are affected by all the issues I've talked about. Whether they got involved in my fight or someone else's fight or even not at all. But however we talk about this, there still is $1.5 trillion of student loan debt outstanding. There are still tens of millions of people across this country who one bad medical diagnosis and they're upside down financially. There are still mamas and daddies all across this country who can't finish their education, can't take on jobs because they can't find access to decent child care that they can afford. And I had to think a lot about where is the best place for me to go to keep fighting those fights, because those problems don't disappear when I stand here in front of you. Those problems go on, and my job is to keep fighting and to fight as smartly and effectively as I can.
Do you agree with that he has given extremist groups safe harbor in the U.S.?
I think that's a pretty good description.
Why was it important for you to come out yesterday and say unequivocally that you think the president is a white supremacist?
So I was asked the question and I gave an honest answer. He's a man who cozies up to the white supremacists. He calls them fine fellows. He's talked about trying to get brown people and black people out of this country. He's talked about whole countries. This is what he's done, the wink and a nod. And he can't have it both ways. He can't keep trying to stir this up, give aid and comfort, be embraced by the white supremacists, and then say, oh, but not me. No, he's responsible. He's the President of the United States.
Senator, can you elaborate on how you made that decision, on when you decided, when you believed that the president was a white supremacist? What was the turning point for you?
It's just one piece of evidence after another. And at some point, when he has been so embraced by the white supremacists and has not distanced himself, then he's there. He's winked, he's nodded, he's danced, he's helped, he's given compliments, and he's turned people against people in this country. That's not what makes us a stronger America. We have a problem in this country, and Donald Trump wants to make it worse so that the wealthy and the well-connected can be the ones who stay in power and just keep raking off more and more profits, more and more money, tilting the system just a little more and a little more in their favor. And 2020 is our chance to fight back against that.
Senator, former Vice President Biden has essentially said that he's given safe harbor to groups like the KKK and neo-Nazis. Do you agree with that he has given extremist groups safe harbor in the U.S.?
I think that's a pretty good description. When I was 21 years old, I got my first job as a special education teacher. I loved that job. And by the end of the first year, I was visibly pregnant. The principal wished me luck and gave my job to someone else. Pregnancy discrimination, you bet. but I was 21 years old. I didn't have a union to protect me, and I didn't have any federal law on my side. So I packed up my stuff and I went home. At least I didn't have a boss who said to me, kill it. The way that Mayor Bloomberg
never
alleged
said that.
to have said to one of his pregnant employees. People want a chance to hear. People want a chance to hear from the women who
I never said that.
I want to allow the mayor
for the
an
record, if she
opportunity to
was a
respond.
teacher in New York City, she would never have had that problem. We treated our teachers the right way, and the unions will tell you exactly that.
Well, Mayor Bloomberg, Senator Warren has raised.
Let us have the women have an opportunity to speak. The Bloomberg corporations and Mayor Bloomberg himself have been accused of discrimination. They are bound by non-disclosures so that they cannot speak. If he says there is nothing to hide here, then sign a blanket release and let those women speak out.
At the last debate, you said some of your female employees might not have liked some of your jokes. Did these women take your jokes wrong, or were you wrong to make the jokes?
Probably wrong to make the jokes. I don't remember what they were, so I assume if it bothered them, I was wrong, and I apologize. I'm sorry for that. But what happened here is we went back 40 years, and we could only find 3 cases where women said they were uncomfortable. Nobody accused me of doing anything other than just making a comment or two. And what the senator did suggest was that we release these women from the non-disclosure agreement. I did that 2 days later, and my company has said we will not use non-disclosure agreements ever again. The senator has got it, and I don't know what else she wants us to do.
Oh, I'll be
We're
clear.
following exactly what she asked
I'll
to
tell
do.
you exactly
and the
what I want
trouble
you to
is, with this senator, enough is never enough.
Senator Warren, that is a very serious charge that you leveled at the mayor.
Yes.
You told a woman to get an abortion. What evidence do you have of that?
Her own words.
And Mayor Bloomberg, could you respond to this?
I never said it. Period. End of story.
Look.
Categorically never said it. When I was accused of doing it, we couldn't figure out what she was talking about. But right now, I'm sorry if she heard what she thought she heard or whatever happened. I didn't take any pleasure in that, and we've just got to go on. But I never said it. Come on.
What I asked the mayor to do is to do a release of all people who have discrimination
We are doing that, Senator.
Look, who have
We want to get to the issue. We want to get to the issue of electability.
Mayor Buttigieg, you say Senator Warren has been, quote, evasive about how she's going to pay for Medicare for all. What's your response?
Well, we heard it tonight, a yes or no question that didn't get a yes or no answer. Look, this is why people here in the Midwest are so frustrated with Washington in general and Capitol Hill in particular. Your signature, Senator, is to have a plan for everything, except this. No plan has been laid out to explain how a multi-trillion-dollar hole in this Medicare for All plan that Senator Warren is putting forward is supposed to get filled in. And the thing is, we really can deliver health care for every American and move forward with the boldest, biggest transformation since the inception of Medicare itself. But the way to do it without a giant multi-trillion-dollar hole and without having to avoid a yes or no question is Medicare for all who want it. We take a version of Medicare, we let you access it if you want to, and if you prefer to stay on your private plan, you can do that too. That is what most Americans want. Medicare for all who want it, trusting you to make the right decision for your health care and for your family, and it can be delivered
Thank you, Mayor.
without an increase
Senator,
on
your
middle-class
response?
taxes.
So let's be clear. Whenever someone hears the term Medicare for all who want it, understand what that really means. It's Medicare for all who can afford it. And that's the problem we've got. Medicare for all is the gold standard. It is the way we get health care coverage for every single American, including the family whose child's been diagnosed with cancer, including the person who's just gotten an MS diagnosis. That's how we make sure that everyone gets health care. We can pay for this. I've laid out the basic principles. Costs are going to go up for the wealthy. They're going to go up for big corporations. They will not go up for middle-class families, and I will not sign a bill into law that raises their costs, because costs are what people care about. I've been studying this, for the biggest part of my life.
Thank you, Senator.
Why people go
can the
bankrupt.
mayor respond?
Sure.
I don't think the American people are wrong when they say that what they want is a choice. And the choice of Medicare for all who want it, which is affordable for everyone because we make sure that the subsidies are in place, allows you to get that health care. It's just better than Medicare for all, whether you want it or not. And I don't understand why you believe the only way to deliver affordable coverage to everybody is to obliterate private plans, kicking 150 million Americans off of their insurance in 4 short years when we could achieve that same big, bold goal. And once again, we got to be president. We're competing to be president for the day after Trump. Our country will be horrifyingly polarized, even more than now. After everything we've been through, after everything we are about to go through, this country will be even more divided. Why unnecessarily divide this country over health care when there's a better way to deliver coverage for all?
We know who these bases were named for. We know why they were named. There is nothing left to study. We are long past the time for action. For weeks, all across this nation, Americans have taken to the streets to call for justice and call for an end to the racist violence that has stolen far too many black lives. We say the names of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery and Tatiana Jefferson and so many other black men and women to reaffirm the simple but powerful truth that they mattered. Their lives mattered. Black lives matter. This moment is about ending police brutality once and for all. It is also about ending systemic racism and dismantling white supremacy in every aspect of our economy and our society. The defense bill now before us includes language I wrote that would require the Secretary of Defense to remove Confederate names from all military assets. This bill denies those honors to military leaders who killed U.S. soldiers in defense of the idea that black people are not people, but instead are property to be bought and sold. It has been more than 150 years since the end of the Civil War, but 10 U.S. Army posts around this country currently bear the names of officers of the Confederate States of America. Think about that. These bases were named to honor individuals who took up arms against our nation in a war that killed more than 500,000 Americans. They took up arms to defend an institution that reduced black people to property. Defenders of these symbols of oppression speak often in generalities, glossing over the details of the Confederacy, the Civil War, and the specifics about the individuals whose names are attached to American military installations. So how about we begin with the truth about the men for whom some of these bases are named. Fort Benning, Georgia, home of the infantry, is named for Brigadier General Henry L. Benning. Benning led Georgia's secession from the Union and commanded the Confederate soldiers at Gettysburg. He was a leader of the secessionist movement. Why? Because according to Benning's own words, he had a, quote, deep conviction that a separation from the North was the only thing that could prevent the abolition of Georgia's slavery. Fort Gordon, Georgia, is named for Major General John Brown Gordon. Historians believe he led the Georgia chapter of the Ku Klux Klan's murderous terrorists in the years after the Civil War. Fort Pickett in Virginia is named for Major General George Pickett. During the war, Pickett ordered the execution of 22 former Confederate soldiers, men whose crime was declaring their allegiance to the Union, the United States of America. Fort Bragg, North Carolina, is named for Major General Braxton Bragg. Bragg was a slave owner, and like the others, Bragg chose to take up arms against the United States and kill U.S. soldiers. But with an infamously poor record as a military commander, he wasn't very good at it. Widely regarded as the most disliked man in the Confederate Army, Bragg commanded forces that were so badly defeated at the Battle of Chattanooga in 1863 that he ultimately resigned. Those are just a few examples. Fort Hood, Fort Lee, Fort A.P. Hill, Fort Polk, Camp Beauregard, Fort Rucker, American military bases that carry the names of Confederate generals are not named for heroes. They are not named for men who risked their lives defending the United States and its soldiers. They are named for men who took up arms against the United States of America and killed American soldiers in the defense of slavery. Those who complain that removing the names of traitors from these bases ignores history ought to learn some history themselves. These bases were not named in the years following the Civil War. No, they were named decades and decades later during the Jim Crow era to strengthen a movement that tried to glorify the Confederacy and reinforce white supremacy. Tens of thousands of Americans protesting the appalling killings of black men and women are calling upon us, on all of us, not just to say the words Black Lives Matter, but to take a tangible step toward making it true by breaking apart the systems that have stolen countless black lives and denied black Americans opportunity and equal treatment. Being race conscious is not enough. It never was. We must be anti-racists.
At night, when you're lying in bed whispering into Bailey's ear, and you're kind of...
He's asleep right now.
He's asleep. And I'm imagining, you know, like the parlor game that I play is thinking about running mates and what tag team is going to beat the monster. Do you whisper into Bailey's ear, who is going to be my Mike Pence? Who is going to look at me with adoring eyes every time I stand? Or are you...
I already have a dog.
Yeah, right.
You got to watch these feisty women.
I think you answered my question.
Yeah. You know, it's so easy to get discouraged and to say Mitch McConnell just ruins everything. There's a lot of truth in that, too. But it isn't everything. There is a lot we can still do. And so here's how I think of just this whole thing going forward. What kind of vice president do I want? I want someone who's going to be in the fight with me. I want a partner. I want somebody who's going to say, I'll pick up part of this and I'll get out and help make this happen. That's what I want as the head of all of the cabinets. That's what I want to see. Because we've got to make change. We can't just say nibble around the edges. We got to pick up these tools and we got to use them because we're running out of time. We have got to do this together. So those are the kind of people I want. I want smart people. I want people who'll challenge. I want people who have ideas. I want people who've worked in the fields. I want people who believe that they can be part of putting government on the side of our citizens instead of on the side of giant corporations. That's what I want. Thank you. You guys are good. I love this. Hello, Megan. Elizabeth. Hi. You guessed it. It's Elizabeth Warren.
First name, that's so inappropriate.
No, it's not inappropriate. It's exactly right. And I just wanted to call and say thank you. We need you in this battle.
Oh my gosh, of course. I mean, obviously I've been following very closely what, it's just happening in general, but certainly what your campaign is doing. And I just think that it's amazing. It's big, it's bold. Like, I just don't think we can get to a better place by walking a smaller line. So I appreciate you being out front and being big and bold with that.
We really believe in equity. We believe in racial equity. We believe in gender equity. We believe in everybody gets a chance in this country. We can build that kind of America.
So we have to build a system that takes everybody into account.
Yes, we
by listening to everybody.
That's right. That's right. And you have shown such great leadership this year. I mean, it's just, what a remarkable year and what a remarkable week for you. You've just been named Sports Person of the Year.
It's crazy.
It's fabulous and well-deserved. And well-deserved because you get out there and you both lead your team on the field, but you also help lead America off the field, and that's really important.
Thank you. That is very sweet. I would love to endorse you and be on your team and help in any way that I can. So consider me Team Warren.
I think we got this, Megan. Okay.
Well, we have a little saying on the national team that we like to say. I don't know if we can cuss on here, but it's LFG. So let's do this.
Let's do this. All right, Megan, you and me, LFG.
LFG. Good luck with the debate.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye. Well, there we go. Team Warren, let's do this. Well, there we go. Team Warren, let's do this.
how we build an America that reflects our values, not just where the money comes from with the billionaires and corporate executives.
Senator.
We have a gun violence problem in this country, and we agree on many steps we could take to fix it. The question we need to ask is, when we've got this much support across the country, 90% of Americans want to see us do, I like registration, want to see us do background checks, want to get assault weapons off the streets. Why doesn't it happen? And the answer is corruption, pure and simple. We have a Congress that is beholden to the gun industry. Until we attack the systemic problems, we can't get gun reform in this country. We've got to go straight against the industry, and we've got to change Congress so it doesn't just work for the wealthy and well-connected, so it works for the people. Insurance companies last year sucked $23 billion in profits out of the system. How did they make that money? Every one of those $23 billion was made by an insurance company saying no to your health care coverage.
Mayor Buttigieg.
So let's be clear. I've actually never met anybody who likes their health insurance company. I've met people who like their doctors. I've met people who like their nurses. I've met people who like their pharmacists. I've met people who like their physical therapists. What they want is access to health care. And we just need to be clear about what Medicare for All is all about. Instead of paying premiums into insurance companies and then having insurance companies build their profits by saying no to coverage, we're going to do this by saying everyone is covered. Our trade policy in America has been broken for decades. And it has been broken because it works for giant multinational corporations and not for much of anyone else. These are giant corporations that, shoot, if they can save a nickel by moving a job to a foreign country, they'll do it in a heartbeat. And yet, for decades now, who's been whispering in the ears of our trade negotiators? Who has shaped our trade policy? It's been the giant corporations. It's been their lobbyists and their executives. I want to negotiate trade with unions at the table. I want to negotiate it with small farmers at the table. I want to negotiate it with environmentalists at the table. I want to negotiate with human rights activists at the table. Why doesn't it happen? As long as Washington is paying more attention to money than it is to our future, we can't make the changes we need to make. We have to attack the corruption head on so that we can save our planet. So listen, it is too close to call, so I'm just going to tell you what I do know. You won! As the baby daughter of a janitor, I am so grateful to be up on this stage tonight. Tonight, as a party, we are one step closer to defeating the most corrupt president in American history. Tomorrow, Donald Trump will make a speech about the State of the Union, but I have a message for every American. Our union is stronger than Donald Trump. And in less than a year, our union will be stronger than ever when that one man is replaced by one very persistent woman. I see America from very different viewpoints, and we have since we were born. Trump grew up in New York City in a 23-room, 9-bathroom mansion. I grew up out in Oklahoma in a 2-bedroom house with 1 bathroom and a converted garage where my 3 brothers slept. By the time he was 3, Donald Trump was getting a $200,000 allowance every year from his dad's real estate empire. In total, he got nearly $500 million from his dad. Me, I took on small jobs to make money, babysitting, waitressing, sewing dresses for my aunts. Donald Trump claimed bone spurs to avoid the draft. All 3 of my older brothers signed up for military service, and the oldest spent 5.5 years off and on in combat in Vietnam. Before he became a reality TV host, Donald Trump spent most of his career running one company after another into bankruptcy, stiffing small businesses, ripping off workers, and scamming students. I spent most of my career studying why families go broke and fighting to make it easier for them to get back on their feet. Before I was even elected to office, I built an entire federal agency to stop big banks and financial institutions from cheating people. I tell you this. I love that. But I tell you this because a person's values matter. A president's values matter. And the only thing Donald Trump values is Donald Trump. He believes that government is just one more thing to exploit, a tool to enrich himself and his corrupt buddies at everyone else's expense. I believe government should work for everyone. We don't know all the results tonight, but tonight has already showed that Americans have a deep hunger for big structural change to make our economy and our democracy work for everyone. Tonight showed that our path to victory is to fight hard for the changes Americans are demanding, changes that Democrats, independents, and Republicans are demanding. Tonight showed that our agenda isn't just a progressive agenda. It isn't just a democratic agenda. It's an American agenda. Throughout our history, when moments of crisis have called on us to meet big challenges, Americans have answered the call. Even when the doubters and critics say that our dreams are too big and the fights are too hard, we persist. In the 1700s, when people said we could never overthrow a king and form a new republic, farmers and merchants came together and fought side by side until we won our independence. In the 1800s, people said that slavery would endure forever and African Americans would never see liberation. But abolitionists, enslaved and formerly enslaved people formed an underground railroad, and more than 2 million people waged a war to defeat the tyranny of slavery. And in the 1900s, people said we could never rescue our economy from the depths of the Great Depression or defeat fascism. But we forged a new deal. We mobilized to defeat fascism. We expanded unions. We built a middle class, and we marched for civil rights. Americans do big things. That's who we are. We don't settle. We don't back down. We meet big problems with even bigger solutions. So I'm here tonight because I believe that big dreams are still possible in America. Tonight, you showed that when you imagine an America that lives up to its ideals, you can set in motion the process of making it a reality. All it takes is some hard work and better connections. And here in Iowa, that's what happened. You came together. You organized. You showed that we are united in our conviction that hope defeats fear, that courage overcomes cynicism, that we will always be a stronger party and a stronger nation when we unite around our shared values to advance justice and expand opportunity to everyone. So right now, across America, there are folks standing with groups of friends or sitting on the couch with loved ones or maybe even watching this quietly on their phones because everyone else in the house is asleep. Watching and thinking, maybe I could help out. Maybe I could volunteer some time. Maybe I could get in the fight. And that is how we're going to do this. I am here tonight to tell you, if you have hope that America can be better than it has been in these last few years, and if you have the courage to speak out and do a little organizing with us, then this campaign is for you. If you can imagine an America where corruption doesn't block our ability to reduce gun violence, an America where we can urgently tackle climate change, an America where we can bring an end to the opioid epidemic, then this campaign is for you. If you can imagine an economy where every job has dignity, where people are paid a livable wage, and where everyone has a real chance to thrive, then this campaign is for you. And if you can imagine a democracy where people, not money, come first, this campaign is for you. And if you can imagine an America of moral clarity that lives its values every day, then this campaign is for you. Tonight, we are one step closer to winning the fight for the America we imagine is possible. Tonight is for you. Tonight is for every volunteer who put their feet to the pavement to fight for change. It's for every organizer who braved the blistering cold to knock on doors. It's for every person who made a call or sent a text to spread the word. I'm going to tell you about some of our volunteers, because tonight is for the veteran who came back diagnosed with PTSD and who volunteered every week to help us become a nation that honors its promises to its veterans. Tonight is for every undocumented, unafraid organizer and volunteer who proudly knocked on doors to let the world know that the path to progress runs through courage, not fear. Tonight is for the innovative, persistent women who organize babysitting clubs so they could get in more hours of volunteering. And tonight is for the single mother who had been homeless and who was so determined that her twin daughters would grow up in a better world that she found the spare moments to make calls on our behalf. Tonight is for everyone who believes that no matter the color of your skin, who you love, how you worship, where you were born, or what zip code you live in, you should be safe and your opportunities should be pretty much as good as everyone else's. In every day and every way, this movement is made up of people who know that the only way to make progress and to build power is to fight from the heart. So tonight, Iowa, and all of you, I want to say thank you. Thank you for living your values. Thank you for standing together, fighting together, persisting together. You have made me a better candidate, and you will make me a better president. And while I'm at it, I want to thank my sweetie Bruce. I couldn't do it. And thanks to Bailey. He truly is a good boy. Together, we have built a movement powered by hopeful, courageous people who will do the work to make the change we need. And we're just getting started. This race will be decided by people like you. And if you believe that something should be done, then I'm asking you to do something. Go to ElizabethWarren.com right now. Pitch in a few bucks, sign up to volunteer, get involved with our campaign near wherever you live. Because this race started right here in Iowa, but from tomorrow, it will run from ocean to ocean. East to New Hampshire, and then west to Nevada, and then down to South Carolina. This fight will stretch across all 57 states and territories that make up this great nation until we unite together as a party in Milwaukee. The road won't be easy. The road is not going to be easy here, but we are built for the long haul. Yeah, we still have a fight on our hands, but we are fueled by the hope in our hearts. Our optimism and our determination run deep. And no matter what lies ahead, we are not afraid. This is our moment. This is the moment we have been called to. Our moment to make history. Our moment to dream big, fight hard, and win. It's up to every Walmart customer who worries about the safety of her children, of her neighbors, of her friends, of people across this country to say, I've got choices on where I spend my money. I've got choices on where I do my banking. And I'd rather spend my money, I'd rather do my banking in line with my values. You know, you live your values every day. That's how they get stronger.
Like many mothers across the country, I have a lot of say in my family's finances. What role can investors, banks, and credit card companies play in the fight for gun safety? And what role can the president play in making sure banks who underwrite the NRA and the gun industry do so responsibly?
Oh, thank you for the question, Amber. You know what I like about Amber? I'll tell you, what I like about Amber is that she looks for all the ways that she has power to make change. Sure, it's about what a president can do by herself. It's about what our senators and our representatives can do. but it's also about your power. Your power not just to push your elected representatives, but the power of your purse. The power to say to where you go and do your banking. So what is your policy? Are you the bank that's helping fund the NRA Wells Fargo? I'm just asking. Are you the one that's helping this along? Because if you are, and I think this is a very important line to draw. No one says it's illegal at this point. You said, I don't want my money there. I'm not spending my money with you. I'm not showing up in your stores. So I think this should work, by the way, both ways. Right now, there's a big push on Walmart. Walmart says it's going to take down pictures of guns on video games. I tell you what, I think it'd be a lot more effective if they just stopped selling guns. And I think it's up to every Walmart customer who worries about the safety of her children, of her neighbors, of her friends, of people across this country, to say, I've got choices on where I spend my money. I've got choices on where I do my banking. And I'd rather spend my money, I'd rather do my banking in line with my values. You know, you live your values every day. That's how they get stronger. Thank you, Amber. Great question. So here's the best part of my plan. When I'm president, whoa, that sounds good. So what are we going to do about it? Well, I got a plan for that. And I've got a plan for that. I have a plan. My plan, so this plan, no surprise, well, I got a plan for that because I think that's wrong. In fact, I've got multiple plans for that. You bet I got the plan for that. You're on it. I know, I get teased a lot about having a lot of plans. I do, and that's okay. So yes, I got a plan, and I got a plan for that. So I have a plan, and how do we pay for it? Got it all. I always have a plan. And I got a plan for that. This is going to be a big plan for bold structural change. So what are we going to do about it? This is not a time when we can say one statute over here, 2 regulations over there, you know, a little 10 degrees more over here. This is a moment for big structural change. What we need is big structural change in this country. Big structural change. We have to make big structural change in this economy. I'm talking big structural change. And the answer is it's going to take big structural change. Big change. Structural. Real structural change. We need big structural change in this country. Today, a full-time minimum wage job in America will not keep a mama and a baby out of poverty. That is wrong, and that is why I am in this fight. That is wrong, and that is why I am in this fight. 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 This is the fight I'm in. That is why I am in this fight. That is why I am in this fight. I'm in this fight. I am in this fight. You know, you stay in the fight for what you believe in. You know, I know that I got a lot of plans and that people say to me, I talk to folks in Washington, and people say, you know, ask for less. You're asking for too much, girl. Ease up. Elizabeth, give up on all of this. And I thought, really? Think about it this way. I look back at what they said to the abolitionists. Too hard. You'll never change America. Slavery's written right into the Constitution. Quit now. What do you think the naysayers said to the suffragettes? Too hard. Just give up now. What did they say to the foot soldiers in the civil rights movement? No, too hard, give up now. What did they say to the early union organizers? Just too hard, give up now. What did they say To the LGBTQ activists who wanted equal marriage, whoa, that's not going to happen. Quit now.
But nobody quit.
Nobody quit. Instead, they organized, they built a grassroots movement, they persisted and changed the course of American history. This is our chance to change the course of American history. It is our chance to dream big, to fight hard, and to win. Thank you.
Proposed a 2-cent wealth tax. That is a tax for everybody who has more than $50 billion in assets. Your first $50 billion is free and clear. But your 50 billionth and first dollar, you got to pitch in 2 cents. And when you hit $1 billion, you got to pitch in a few pennies more. Here's the thing. Doing a wealth tax is not about punishing anyone. It's about saying you built something great in this country, good for you. But you did it using workers all of us help pay to educate. You did it using getting your goods on roads and bridges, all of us help pay for it. You did it protected by police and firefighters, all of us help pay the salaries for. So when you make it big, when you make it really big, when you make it top 0.1% big, pitch in 2 cents so everybody else gets a chance to make it. And here's the thing. That's something that Democrats care about, independents care about, and Republicans care about. Because regardless of party affiliation, people understand across this country our government is working better and better for the billionaires, for the rich, for the well-connected, and worse for everyone else. We come together when we acknowledge that and say we're going to make real change.
Thank you.
So let me just tell you what we can do with that 2-cent wealth tax. 2 cents on the top 0.1% in this country, and we can provide universal child care for every baby in this country ages 0 to 5. That is transformative. We can provide universal pre-K for every 3-year-old and 4-year-old in America. We can stop exploiting the women, largely black and brown women, who do this work, and we can raise the wages of every child care worker and preschool teacher in America. We can put $800 billion new federal dollars into all of our public schools. We can make college tuition free for every kid. We can put $50 billion into historically black colleges and universities, and we can cancel student loan debt for 95% of the folks who've got it. 2-cent wealth tax, and we can invest in an entire generation. Today, the 99% in America are on track to pay about 7.2% of their total wealth in taxes.
I'm not disagreeing with that.
The top 0.1% that I want to say pay 2 cents more, they'll pay 3.2% in America. I'm tired of freeloading billionaires. I think it's time that we ask those at the very top to pay more so that every single one of our children gets a real
everybody is tired of freeloading billionaires. Everybody's tired of corporations getting away with paying 0 taxes.